Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be looking at Honda's 750 Transalp that came out this year. We're going to be doing a quick look around the bike to look at the various bits and bobs, and then a bit of footage from out and about, and then a conclusion at the end to see how I think this new bike stacks up. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, so at the front we've got the 21-inch wheel. It's got quite a narrow tyre on it, a 90 by 90. Front forks are by Showa and they're upside down, and very smart they look too. So if we just come round to the engine, now this is the same engine as you know as the Hornet. So it's very very over square, quite a peaky unit, it looks like on paper at least. So 91 horsepower and all the usual things that we see on these 750 and mid-range twins now. 270-degree crank that gives you that sort of V-twin feel. And yeah, we'll see what it's like on the road, but it certainly promises to be quite a quick motor. So around the back, what have we got around the back? Metzer Karoo tyres, they're sort of well regarded, I think. Aluminium swing arm, that looks rather smart. Not sure about the exhaust, does look a bit like the NC750 and a bit kind of staid for a bike that's got sort of adventure pretensions, but we'll see how vocal that is on the road. The seat is quite well sculpted down, you can see the seat height. I'll put the seat height up on the screen in a moment because I can't quite remember how tall it is, but let me get back a little bit. What you can see here is it's cut in quite a way. It's actually cut quite deep. So when you're sitting on it, you actually got your feet flat on the ground, but it's still quite a way to swing your leg over if you're a little bit short in the leg. I'm 6'2" and got a 32-inch side leg, and it's still quite a little bit of a push for me to throw a leg over it. Nothing insurmountable, but it is still quite a challenge. Right. What we got, as I say, is obviously the engine and a quick shifter. I think it's standard on here, so we give that a little go when we go out and see how that goes on as well. And if we have a look at the switch gear, so on the right hand side it's got the usual combined stop start kill switch that Honda use now, so just a single button. A little bit busier on the left hand side. We got the mode switch, the horn and the indicators, hazards obviously there, and then the multi-function switch for doing the dash. So let's have a quick look at the dash. Okay, so there you go. You can change the different layouts. So because it's obviously a TFT rather than LCD, you can configure what you want the screen to look like. So you can have just different gauges up basically, and you've got the different modes. So just quickly go through those. So sport, standard, rain, gravel, user. So basically they all speak for themselves. I think you get the general gist of how these will work. Different modes will have different amounts of power, engine braking, traction and ABS. And the user one is user configurable. So if you want a slightly unusual combination, then you can set that yourself. Like the Hornet, I don't understand. I don't know if anyone can let me know in the comments what's going on. Average consumption, 6.6 miles per gallon. Doesn't sound very likely to me, I have to say, so not quite sure what's going on there. If you understand what's going on there, please explain it to me and drop a comment down below. Okay, so that's just a very brief look around the bike. What we do now is we're going to take it out. I'm going to go out on the road. Haven't done this before, obviously, for the channel, so bear with me, it's something new. A little bit of in-town footage, a little bit of footage on the twisty roads, then a little bit of footage on the dual carriageway, then we come back here again for the summary. Okay, see you on the road. So around town the Transalp works very well. Suspension is soft and compliant. The brakes aren't too sharp but nice and progressive. The engine's flexible enough and only a little bit fussy just off idle, but for all intents and purposes it's absolutely fine. The clutch is nice and light and engages smoothly. The pegs are a bit odd in as much as the placing is right where your feet naturally fall when you come to a stop. So it's very easy to, as you come to a stop, bash your shins on the pegs, which is not great if they're those off-road style metal ones. But I'll shut up and you can just have a listen. going out to the back roads here around Beachy Head, and it's blowing about 50-mile-an-hour gusts, and it's taking the front of the bike all over the place here. But it's really where the bike comes into its own, I think, on these kind of back roads. Its long travel suspension really eases over all those bumps, and although you've heard people say that the engine is a bit peaky, it's not really lacking in low down grunt for this. Front wheel being 21 inch though, and being quite a sit up and big bike, it does catch the wind, you'll see here. That's no steering input from me at that point. It was getting decidedly hairy, but as I say, it's really soaks up the bumps, and it just sort of floats over all these imperfections, and it's really coming into its own. So right, so that wasn't full throttle, but it just sort of giving you an idea of how quickly it gets up to speed without having to absolutely open it up wide or thrash it right up to the top. It's got plenty of power there, I think, especially for these kind of back roads. You don't have to go right to the top of the rev range or absolutely have it wide open. It's plenty of powerful enough, I think, and drives well from low down. There's always cars on this bit of road. It's a cracking bit of road. And I got here and I thought, I've got to do a U-turn and go through there. I know it's childish. And apologies again for the wind noise. I've tried to suppress it as best I can, but it's just, as I say, the wind was blowing so hard. Even with a, what they call it, a dead cat on the microphone, it was still making a heck of a racket, so apologies for that. Okay, so just a quick black, see how it pulls from lower revs. It's fine, no problems there. Alright, U-turn, let's go and find that water feature. River crossing test. It's about now I realised I only had my ordinary boots, not the waterproof ones on. Going, we get a little opportunity just to see how it pulls from low revs here. Taking it easy because it's very damp. Okay, and we'll do a bit of a few miles on the dual carriageway now, just to give a bit of a feel for it there. It gets up to speed really easily. It sounds really nice. Essentially, it's got a real sort of hammering sort of tone to it. It's a really nice little sound. So the thing I noticed at speed, it's super relaxed, only doing about 4,000 revs at the legal limit. There's no air much to speak of on the chest or on even the shoulders, but I'm 6'2" and I was getting a lot of turbulent air off the top of the screen. So if I was having it and I was doing any distance, I'd be looking to have a taller screen. It's really was quite marked for me, and quite a bit worse than my XL750. But it's a very laid back bike at the legal limit. It's just coming to the point where the power's coming in, so overtaking even in top is just a roll-on affair, and it's just bundles of fun. taking it very easy. It's very greasy out here today. So yeah, the vibes that I mentioned earlier on, sort of in the mid-range, that tend to tingle through the pegs and the bars. I think particularly through the pegs because they're the bare aluminium ones without any rubber. When you're cruising at the legal limit, all that just melts away and it's just super smooth. Really nice. Okay guys, so summary on the Honda Transalp. Well, looking at the suspension and the wheels and the tyres first of all, well obviously it's very soft suspension as you'd expect on an adventure bike, particularly the rear I think. 200mm at the front on the shower, the 43mm showers, and 190 on the back. Again, you might want to look at the preload if you're a heavy chap like me, because it was really quite soft on the back. The large front wheel, the 21-inch front wheel, takes a little bit of adjusting if you're used to a normal road bike. If you're used to the adventure bike with a really large front wheel, that you'll be absolutely fine, I'm sure. But it gives you great stability. Normally, I'll come on to this in a minute, gives you great stability in the turns. It's quite slow steering obviously because you've got a big wheel. It does feel a little bit vague as you'd expect, but nothing to worry about. What I did find though was when I was out and saw some of the footage earlier, going over Beachy Head Road, which is very windy yesterday with gusts up to 50 miles an hour, the wind was really getting hold of that front end and pulling it around, pulling me all over the road. So not particularly pleasant, but par for the course if you want the 21-inch front wheel if you're going off-road. The only other downside, as I see it anyway, I know it doesn't worry most people, but apart from the weather, but I'm going to carry on regardless, is the tube tyres. Now, I'm not a fan of tube tyres. I think if you're going touring, as most people will on these, they're a potential pain if you get a puncture. Yes, they're fixable, but it's a lot more of a faff than if you had tube tyres to fix. Okay, so to the engine. As most of you will know by now, it's a real powerhouse, 91 horsepower. It is quite a revvy unit, as you've probably read by now. It's not completely gutless low down, it's perfectly drivable, but if you're the sort of guy who wants to just chug around like you would on an NC and expect it to sort of pull up tree stumps, you know, from 2000 revs, probably not going to be the engine for you. If you prefer something a bit more fizzy, like an MT-07, then this is really going to be your bag. It really does sound glorious when you wind it up. And it's not short of torque. People say, oh, it's gutless low down. It's not gutless low down. I think it just feels significantly weaker lower down because there's so much of a rush at the top end. So, as I say, if you like a sort of a V7 or an NC that just chugs along, probably not best for you. If you like something that's a bit more fizzy, then the engine will please you, I don't doubt. It's a little bit hesitant off a closed throttle, like a lot of the modern bikes with the emissions problems they got to hit and the challenges they got to hit. It is a little bit twitchy off a closed throttle. It does tend to hunt a little bit more than the Hornet, funnily enough, that I tried recently. So just again, advise a test ride if you're kind of sensitive to that sort of thing. I think you get used to it. If I'm honest, it's not bad, but it certainly is there, and it doesn't matter which of the modes you're in. It still kind of feels the same. It can be a little bit buzzy through the bars and pegs at medium speed. Probably exacerbated on this one because it's got the no rubber. It's got the kind of the adventure style ones with the metal foot pegs. That's probably exacerbated that bit. At faster speeds, it wasn't really an issue. It's smooth right out, but certainly in the mid-range, or the 40 to 50 range, there was a little bit buzzing there. Gearbox, very precise, very like all the engine actually, quite unlike Honda, whereas Hondas I've always found a little bit crunchy. This one I find is very short throw and very snickety, if you like, almost like a Suzuki box. And you do sometimes think, has that gone right in? And you kind of give it another go because it doesn't feel it's gone right in, but it's just the nature of the beast and it's quite a short throw action. I didn't have much time to play with the quick shifter. I'm not a huge fan of quick shifters personally. I did have a bit of a go on it, and as long as obviously you've got the revs up, it seemed to be fine. A little bit crunchy, but it does what quick shifters do. If it fits your thing, it's got it fitted as standard, which is a nice touch. As far as gearing goes, it's geared for about 4,000 revs at 65 miles an hour. That's a bit of a personal thing about mine. I always try and like to include that, just gives you an idea. So it's actually geared quite high given how many revs there are on hand and how peaky the engine is. But once you're up at that sort of cruising speed, there was no shortage of grunt. It was fine just to roll on and shoot off into the distance. That was fine. Lastly, 17 in this sort of area, 17 litre tank. Gives you roughly about 65 miles per gallon. You'll get about 230, 240 miles to the tank. So for me, that's plenty if you're going touring or if you're just tacking around. That's more than ample and more than many bikes these days give you. So going on to the dash, obviously it's a TFT dash. It's lots and lots of configuration on there you can do with lots of different styles of layout, which is all great. You've got the 5 riding modes, and I have to read off my list, otherwise I'll forget them. So you've got gravel, rain, standard, sport and user, where you can obviously configure it all you like. Personally, it doesn't feel, yes, they feel very different when you change them as far as the power delivery goes, but I find it's more, rather than the power being any different, it's just how much power comes in when you twist the throttle. It's just like a throttle map, it feels to me, as far as the power goes. Comment down below if you know they've actually locked to the top end power, but it doesn't feel as though they have ultimately to me. Okay, riding position, obviously it's very much sitting upright. The seat is reasonably high, which it's fine for me. I can sit on it with a bent leg, it's not a problem. I'm 6'2", so you won't have a problem. The only thing with a lot of these adventure bikes, if you're a little bit shorter in the leg, obviously as you can see it kicks right up here. So although the seat is reasonably okay at, what's the seat height again? Let me check. It's 850 mil. So it's an okay kind of seat height, but you will find you have to kind of, if you're a bit short in the leg, because it kicks right up here, obviously getting a leg over can be a little bit of a challenge. If you're over sort of 5'10", 6 foot, you'll be absolutely fine. The screen, I think, was a bit of a weakness, if you will, on this. Personally, it's got these little aerofoil things on it, which is, I don't know if these are an option, but I know some people say, oh, these little 4 plastic blades, if you like, supposed to improve the airflow. Around the chest area, I thought it was absolutely fine. Very little wind pressure on here at all. But given I'm 6'2", I found that air coming off the top of the screen was smacking me straight in the helmet, if you can say that, straight in the face, and that was quite uncomfortable, and I'd probably look personally to get a taller screen. In the chest area, absolutely fine. So the summary of the summary then, would I buy one? That's always the trick. Well, I think I always caveat these kind of opinions with, I don't think there are any bad bikes out there anymore. I think there's a question of which bike suits an individual person. So I think this is a great bike, but you've got to be clear what you're getting. And for me, it's a little bit of a mixed bag, or a mixed sort of design concept, if you put it like that, because the suspension, all the riding position, all that is very laid back and very comfortable, but the engine is quite bonkers. And for me, I think it gels better as a package when you look at, say, the Hornet, because the Hornet is very light, it's very nimble, as this is, but it's very much road, obviously a road bike with a very much a fizzy potent engine like this, and it just feels more coherent as a bike. This feels to me a little bit of a mix match. And for me, if it was my money, I'd probably go for the Hornet, because I'd save over £2 grand. So I get all the performance, all the fun, and all the excitement, if you like, of this in a more road biased package. So it's even better on the road than this, and I save £2 grand. But if you want the adventure styling and you want this sort of look and feel and the design, because I love the design, especially in white, I think it's absolutely gorgeous, then this obviously has to be your go-to choice. Okay, if there's anything I've missed, and I probably have, please drop a comment down below. If you like the video, if it's been helpful, please like, that's much appreciated. And thank you for sticking with us, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers for now, guys. Bye-bye.